Shirt show. All right, let's go. Shirt show. Talking shirt. Shirt show. Talking shirt. Shirt show. Talking shirt. Shirt show. Shirt, man. All right, episode 14 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Juan from MMX in St. Louis. Let's go.
Oh, there we go. He's got a.
You cold?
Well, sorry we were late. It's all Dylan again, per usual, and he had trouble finding a parking spot for his van, and also the reception is he couldn't find a hot spot apparently.
Yeah, I'm in a creeper van right now.
Does it say free candy on the side?
It doesn't. It says free puppies. It's a lot cheaper to steal puppies off the road than it is to buy candy. Like, it's expensive.
Yeah, that's true.
So how are you?
Me or
Yeah,
You, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care how Dylan is. Yeah,
Oh.
I want to know how you are.
I'm good. I feel good. I dress good.
Yeah. Are you wearing a fur coat?
It's a faux fur coat. I don't want PETA or anybody coming after me. I love the animals.
It's summer.
Well, when you're me, I mean, it's cold everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that goes with your logo you've got there, that embroidery, doesn't it?
A cool company, local company made these for me.
Tell us about that.
Oh, it's hot. Okay.
See, I knew it.
It's too hot. So as my career kind of shifted and trying to figure out again what my purpose in life is, and going through some of the things that I went through, right now there's a big push to talk about mental health. And we look at it in all the communities, especially the Black community. There are not a lot of Black men talking about addressing our mental health. And so I started doing a lot of things about addressing my own mental health through the traumas and stuff that I've experienced in my life. And so one of the things that I'm doing, I'm working with a therapist named Michelle Stieg, and she told me, talking through my traumas, that a lot of these parts, these emotions, these feelings that I've kept at bay for so long, it's causing the deterioration of our mental health. So it's important to accept those parts, even if it's difficult. And so a lot of things that have happened to me through my life, to where I've wanted to have a cold heart, and I said, no, I have to be positive. I have to put a smile on my face so I can put smiles on other people's faces. After a while, that puts a lot of weight on your own shoulders, and I broke down. And so I had to learn to accept that part of me, to be cold sometimes, to sometimes tell people no, to feel sadness. So I had to allow myself. So that's kind of what this shirt represents, is allowing that part of myself in, and then everybody else who wears it kind of sharing their own story in the same way too.
Yeah, that's powerful. In fact, I think I think everybody should be in therapy, Wouldn't that be, if there was mandatory, this is America, so I know you can't do that, but if you could, and say, hey, everybody's got to go to therapy, whether it's once a week or once a month or a little bit, because if it was mandatory, then if you were say, hey, I'm going to my therapist, whatever, then you're not looked upon as weak, or nobody looks down upon you, like, oh, what do you mean you're going to therapy? What's wrong with you? But if everybody went to therapy, even if you were fine and it's like, hey, I feel fine today or this week or whatever, and you still go to therapy, you could talk about whatever, and just like you said, or maybe talk about what you're going to do, set your goals, and so I don't know, therapy is underrated.
Well, I think it's we work out, a lot of people who work out aren't necessarily working out to lose weight. They're working out to maintain their body. They're working out for just their overall long-term health, just to keep their bodies in check. And so we so often think about just our physical bodies that we don't think about ourselves emotionally or mentally. And so we have to make sure that, I call it a checkup from the neck up. I do it every morning when I look in the mirror. I just kind of have a checkup from the neck up, ask myself, how am I? ask myself, what am I going to do that day? Who am I? Who am I going to
doggone it, people like you.
I need to put a sweater on or something. But yeah, it's kind of the same way. I mean, you tell your buddy that you're going to go work out. You go tell your buddy that you're going to go for a walk, or you're going to go, you're going to hang out, do some other things. It should be socially acceptable to say, hey, I'm going to go to therapy tonight and I'll meet you for drinks later or something like that. It should be the norm. It should be normalized.
I feel like it is more so now than it was probably when we were younger.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what this is for me. I mean, I get to talk to Andy and he gets to just put me down until it's live. Then he just acts all nice.
So whose mental health is that helping?
I think his.
Yeah, hurt people hurt, and so yeah, and maybe it is that I'm hurt, and so I could use, maybe that helps. So Dylan, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
we call that projection.
So give us some background, because I don't know you as well as Andy does. Let me, like, how'd you get started, and how'd you get to where you are now?
So I'm actually from the Kansas City, Missouri area, and I moved here in 5th grade. I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. And so I actually went to Forest Park Community College for 2 years. I played baseball there, and, I was getting scouted by the Rangers. And then eventually I was going to go play for WashU for my junior year. But, I ended up having my daughter, when I was 19 during my freshman year. And so after my sophomore year, I had some choices to make. Was I going to be that struggling student athlete trying to work? Because I was working full time, I was going to school full time, and I was playing baseball. Or was I just going to focus on my family 100%? And so I decided to focus on my family, and I left baseball and left college. The guys on the team were very, very awesome. I think it helped that I did it before the season started. I actually got to go out and talk to the team and tell them what my decision was, and they were very proud of me. And so I just entered the workforce. Since then, a lot of different jobs. Eventually, at one time I was a residential building inspector. Before that, I was a union laborer. I did concrete, asphalt. I rode on the back of a trash truck. I've done a lot of different things, but then eventually I landed in law enforcement, where I was in there for 11 years. Never in a million years did I think I was ever going to be in law enforcement. I had several people tell me throughout the years that I would be good, but I was like, no. And so
what drew you to that?
It's funny because I had, there was a chief of police at the time that I was playing flag football with a group of guys who were police officers. And they said, the way that you think and you carry yourself, we think you make a great police officer. And I was like, well, number one, no. Number two, don't tell any of my friends that. And so I wasn't too interested. And so he told me to think about it. And as I do with pretty much anything, I thought about it for a full year. And when the year came back around, I still felt that I was being called to do it because, there's not too many Black police officers in the St. Charles County area. And I wanted to help change the perspective of police officers and how people viewed them. And so I got into it for that, and I wanted to help people.
Yeah. And so that led for us to meet, actually, because we use, going back years, 5 years, 6 years ago or so, we used to make videos when somebody came in to get shirts and they had an interesting story. Well, we'd make a video about it. Well, one day a guy came in and he was getting these Cat tourniquet holders. Cat 5. These Cat 5 tourniquet holders. No, but these cat tourniquet holders, because what we found out, or he found out anyway, is most first responders kept them in their car, kept them in their pockets at their cargo pants or something. And he wanted to have it on their vest, like on their kit or on their belt, their duty belt or something. And so I had this idea to make this video showing that the difference of, the time it takes to apply out of this holder or like try to open the bag that's out of your pocket. And so we needed a few police officers and you were one of them. You showed up that day and we got these oxygenators from CVS or whatever and put them on your finger, each of your fingers, and then iPhone timers, to see who would win. And then I knew that we would get along when you had this idea because you had the cap tourniquet holder and the other guy didn't. And I knew that we would get along when you had this idea when you finished, you just start eating pizza. So I was like, yeah. And so that was in the video and he still makes those, I want to say.
Yeah, he does.
So, and holsters and all kinds of other stuff. But that's when we met.
Yeah. And then it turned into, it turned into a very emotional friendships, ups and downs. But I think the biggest part was, it was a time, everything was happening in Ferguson. And then we started having police officers who were being ambushed and shot and killed. And man, I was just, seeing how that, how it affected my family and, and my daughter, some of the things that she would talk to me about. And then, you're sitting there just wondering, am I next? Police officers were just sitting in their cars and people were just walking up and shooting them. And so, there's that feeling of, am I next? And so there were 2 St. Louis police officers that were ambushed again and shot. And I was super emotional and I just wanted to get a positive message out. And so I called Andy and we had this video idea that we wanted to do called Send Me. And, Andy was super, super crazy busy. And so we hadn't done it yet. Well, I got a hold of him. I said, hey, like, I need to do this video. Do you have time? And he said, no, I don't have time.
I think you said something like, I'm sitting outside in my car. So
he said, I don't have time. But then there was a pause and I didn't say anything. And then the next message came and he said, but I'll make time. And so I think we went and I think for about 15, 20 minutes, tried to find the right spot. And then for about another 15 minutes, did some filming. And then we shook hands. I got in the car and recorded the audio with them. And then we just left. And that was it.
But finding that spot. So we ended up finding the spot behind Kohl's department store in their alley. And it was overcast.
Not sketchy at all.
None.
It was the worst, I don't know, lighting and all this, everything to do with it. Like, whatever, let's try it. We'll make it work. And then right when we started recording, the clouds parted. And out comes this ray of sunshine. And oh my gosh, this video, you tell them about it.
Well, so we filmed the video and then he's like, yeah, I'll try to work on it. And so he works on it. Did you work on it that night?
I think it was like Thanksgiving break. It was the day.
Yeah.
It was right in there. And so I had time. I think I went home and
yeah.
I didn't go to Thanksgiving with my family. I just worked on this video for you, Juan.
I appreciate you. Well, so he does this video, sends it to me, and I'm like, this is perfect. And so we're talking about, we always talked about algorithms and when's the prime time to post and everything. So we're getting an idea of when to post it. So I posted, and at that time, and I'm kind of still that same way, but when I post stuff, I just post it and then I walk away from it because it's kind of like a therapeutic release for me every single time I post something, because I put a lot either into the work or into what I say. And I posted it and I just walked away. And an hour later, Andy texts me and goes, hey, did you look at your video? I go, yeah, you sent it to me. I watched it before I posted it. Yeah, I looked at it. He was like, no, have you looked at it recently? You probably need to look. And I said, okay. And so I looked, and I think after an hour, it had about 80,000 views. And I was like, what is going on? And so it just kind of took off. I think right now it's over 1.5 million views. I had police officers from all over the world messaging me, Germany, the Netherlands, just in solidarity of kind of like why they actually do the job, because they feel like it was a calling to be a servant for the community. And that's kind of the message that I wanted to spread, and to see so many people across the world just respond to that one video was from, St. Charles County. It was really, really cool.
And this was in, I want to say it was 2016. And
Yeah.
so things were still, like you said, there were police officers getting shot still, or ambushed, like you just said. And
why exactly was that happening?
At that time, it was so much hate and anger. It was during Mike Brown. And so everyone was fighting at the time. A lot of people were angry at the police. A lot of people were angry at the justice system. You just had a lot of anger and hate. And so, I mean, it's kind of like the way it is right now. People are at each other's throats. Right now you add COVID and everything to it that adds to it. But you had communities that were they were angry. And so there was this us versus them, community versus police. And so that's what we had at the time.
And so off of that video, this is where the t-shirt brand comes in. And so, so tell us about why you decided to start a t-shirt brand.
So then Andy says, hey, this is an amazing message, and I think you could get even more reach if you put together just this meaningful t-shirt. And I said, no. I said, I don't know anything about running an online store or selling, merchandise. And he's like, well, I think I know a thing or two about that. I might be able to help you. I know a guy. And so we kind of started talking about it. We started fleshing out what the t-shirt should look like. And so many ideas, but I think it took me coming in, which is the awesome part about Shirt Kong, is that hands-on personal experience that you can have, if it's needed, because we sat down in a room, him, Brandon, and me, for about an hour and a half, and just kept staring at this image on a screen and putting stuff on and take it off, put stuff on, take more off, to where we just had this one message of send me across the chest. And it just took off.
I remember. So how did you decide to like, what were what's some of the background as far as putting it together? Like you said, okay, I'm going to open the Shopify account, I'm going to ship out, and I'm going to commit to this. Like, it wasn't your full-time job, so you were balancing starting this t-shirt brand, which requires all kinds of time, with like it was your side hustle, I guess.
Yeah, I had no idea the magnitude of the work that comes along with it. I mean, I spent time at Shirt Kong and watched everybody kind of do their thing. And so, when I put these, the Shopify store together, and, I'm texting Andy, hey, do I need to have this setting or this setting, or how do I need to have this? So he's kind of helping me through that. Well, then I start putting the pre-order out, and I want to say after 2 weeks, we sold around 600 shirts. And it's just like I'm not at Shirt Kong. These shirts are going to come to my house. And so I want to say it was for 4 days straight. After I would get off of work, I would work on packing these shirts up until sometimes 2-3 o'clock in the morning to ship out to people. And man, yeah, I mean, then you talk about, getting an accountant and trademarking and taxes. And I had no idea what was all involved in having your own brand or online retail store. But I learned pretty quickly.
What?
Yeah, you got thrown into that pretty quick by the sounds of it.
Yeah, it was, man, it seemed like it was overnight. I mean, I just wanted to put a message out, and Andy was right. Andy was the one that was kind of, Andy knows t-shirts. And so he was pushing me. Yeah, he said, maybe a little bit. But he was pushing me because he knows the power of t-shirts, and I'm a graphic tee, hoarder myself. And I didn't think about that, but Andy was thinking about being able to spread that message even further. And so, man, it was trial by, fire. But it was good because I got to talk to and meet a lot of cool people through those shirts and sharing that message.
Well, look, printers, we complain all the time about brands. That's like the common thing. Like, oh my gosh, here comes another brand, and if it weren't for that we were friends, obviously I wouldn't have gotten into it. Because it's most of the time anyway with brands, it's hard. There's so much, like you just said, there's so much to it, and it's very hard to be a successful brand. And so, what are some things that I know I'm putting myself out here, but what are some things that you, as a brand, what are some of your complaints, about printers? Like what were some of your frustrations?
I think my biggest frustration was how popular and busy my printer was during that time, because, and I will say this, my experience is probably a lot different than a lot of people because we were friends. But
so a lot of other people are just pissed off. I mean, you took it with a grain of salt because you were friends, but in reality, if it was anybody else, you would have just went somewhere else.
You're like, I don't know what's up with this company.
I get it. Well, I understand.
I think I looked at it through the lens of, since we were friends, that, he's got my best interests at heart. So maybe I was a little blinded. I had some blinders on, because we were friends. And, there were times that I would get angry because I would want stuff done sooner, sooner than they were. But, I was a police officer at the time, and there was a lot, even my childhood, we weren't rich. We didn't have a whole lot of money. I mean, there were times that my family and I, was my brother, my sister, my mom, and my dad, we all held hands at the kitchen table praying for our next meal. And so when you experience stuff like that in your life, there are times it kind of teaches you a little bit of patience and grace. And so I would probably say the biggest complaint that I ever had was just sometimes was time, but I had to understand that, my default setting is the world revolves around me, and it doesn't. And so I had to remove myself from that default setting.
My biggest question is, Andy, did you not offer or do any like fulfillment or anything back then?
Nope. We still don't really. We do a little bit now because it is such a popular thing, but we didn't have the space. And also we were just too busy. We didn't have the team, in place to do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So. But I was going to ask you, is the friends and family are like, for me, I don't know if this is the same thing for you, Dylan, but whenever friends or family place an order here, it's like normally the worst.
It takes forever.
It's the worst. And so I remember, this is a true story. My aunt says, oh, I have this great idea for a shirt. It's going to say Grateful Dad. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. And so we'll get the art for you. We did it. And I shipped, and she's in Virginia. I mail her the shirts. She gets them and she says, you spelled grateful wrong. I said, what do you mean? Well, Grateful Dad can be GREAT, or it can be GRATE, like Grateful Dad or Grateful Dad. I was just like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And so we spelled it wrong, and we had to reprint them. This is from my aunt. And so I'm like, oh my God, anytime friends or family, normally it's always
my thing with friends and family is they never want to go through the proper channels. And for me,
you or something, you mean?
Yeah, for me, that's the hardest thing is I'm like, hey, like literally, I know you're my brother, but like email Sarah, she'll get you a quote. She'll set the whole thing up. Like tell her it's you and, you know, she'll give you my price or whatever. And then like, we'll go through the normal channels, like put it on the schedule and everything else. Everybody else is like, no, just like, here's a napkin and like, you know, do this now, or, you know, are you doing it on Monday? And it's like, that's my biggest thing. And it's just kind of like go through the normal channels. It's like with anybody, anytime anybody needs anything or they're asking me to do a favor, I'm like, email me, because my day-to-day routine is like, I get in, I check my email, and I use my email as like a checklist of like, this is what I'm going to do today. So I have like a super neat inbox, and it's just kind of like, if you want me to do anything, add it to that checklist for me. Like add it to my email, because it's the only way it's going to get done. And friends and family never want to do that. They just want to send you a text or send you a Facebook message or something. And then I just forget about it because it's not in my day to day, and then it goes away, and then we're not friends anymore and whatever.
I do the same thing even here with like people. They'll say, hey, don't forget, I need to order this or order that. Or if there's some kind of message that they want to get, I'm like, don't even give me a sticky note. Don't write it on a piece of paper. Don't tell me. Whatever you do, don't tell me.
Yeah, don't tell me.
Like email me whatever you want and I'll flag it and I'll get it.
Yeah.
But if you tell me something, I already forgot it.
Well, people here ask me all the time. They're like, oh, is it okay if I take like 2 Fridays from now off or whatever? I'm like, add it to the schedule, because I am not going to remember in any way. And then the best part is it's always like I'm sitting at my desk and Chris is like, oh, is Sarah not coming in today? I'm like, guess not. She's super fucking late. And then I realize I text her. I'm like, where are you? She's like, oh, I'm in like North Carolina. And she's like, I told you like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, I don't know. I don't remember. Yeah. So, yeah.
So what's your role now? You're not a police officer anymore.
No. So now I work in a school district. I'm a coordinator of diversity and awareness. And so working with teachers and students on, creating better relationships, but then also understanding the differences in all of us. And so, because I remember when I was in high school, the motto was, we don't see color, which is in theory, if you think about it, yeah, you don't want to judge somebody by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. So like, I get that. But when you shy away from it and you don't talk about it, you can't recognize it. You can't celebrate it. You can't create awareness. And so we had to do a 360 and say, all right, now, or a 180. Hey, we are going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it so that way we all understand where everyone is coming from. Because whether you're on the north end of O'Fallon, where there's a lot of hunting and farming, or if you're coming from the different parts of St. Peter's, where there's a lot more, businesses and industrial stuff, we all need to know where we're all coming from, so that way we can all kind of coexist with each other. Because the big thing that became was people getting offended. And so no one wants to purposely offend another person. And so working on how to respect and care for one another through our differences.
And that's with faculty and staff, or in the administration, or with students too?
It's everybody in the district, including, the 18,000 plus kids. It's just me. I'm one department. I'm one person. I don't have a secretary. I don't have anybody else. But a lot of the staff do an amazing job to help me. And then the students with the different clubs that we have, they do a lot to help me too. So yeah, it's faculty, staff, students, and sometimes even with parents. I'll have meetings with parents sometimes, and we'll talk about diversity awareness.
So are you still doing the clothing line stuff, or pushing that at all still?
Yeah. So the Send Me is still there. right now. It's a really hot issue right now.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it, I've just been kind of spreading positive messages through that. But I've been a sneakerhead all my life, and I have way too many pairs of shoes. And so I wanted to start making just a brand or a line that was me. Who am I, and kind of seeing if people could appeal to that. And so I started a separate brand from Send Me, and so I'm doing that now too.
So I get it. You got into work at the school so that you could sling shirts to the kids in school. I see your marketing techniques. I get
He's got
it.
18,000 customers there.
I know. He's like, oh, how can I bring each kid in, ask them questions, and be like, well, do you like this shirt? Bring me $20 tomorrow, and it's yours.
Yeah, and that's I think the biggest benefit for me is getting to see the kids. That's what sucked about the whole quarantine and school shutting down, is you don't get to see the kids. And so that I loved hanging around the
customers.
Kids. But I love being around the kids, but it was cool to also see their style, because you get to see what they're wearing, and it kind of gives you ideas of, hey, okay, so that's what's in, or that's what's trending. And some of the stuff I couldn't get into, but the one thing that I did, the short shorts, yeah, those are back. I like those. The guys, we can wear short shorts now, just like back in the day in the 90s. And so
I haven't seen you wearing any of those yet.
Oh, on Instagram, I got them. I'm in Instagram with them on.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be bringing those back. I don't have the body for that.
So what are some things that you can share about just starting a brand, that could make, like, a tip anyway for a printer that would make it easier. Obviously, the turnaround, that's important, I guess, because you mentioned that was your biggest struggle with us. But I mean, besides that, like starting a clothing brand, because this is your second one. So you had to Send Me, you had all those things you learned from that, and now you've got this. And so, like, what's different about this one?
I think it's important, one, to develop, and some people disagree with me. I only work with people that I can develop relationships with. And so if you were a screen printer that I couldn't text you at 8 p.m. and tell you that I'm struggling, I don't want you printing my shirts. Because I think that human beings were wired for human connection. And so if you're doing something as important as your own brand, creating this brand, and it's so personal to me, like these t-shirts aren't, every shirt that I've put together, none of these shirts are, I think those just be cool and make a whole lot of money. That's not, I've had the Send Me line for over 2 years. 2017, I think, was the first time that we did it. So 3 years. And I want to say we've produced maybe 5 or 6 shirts in 3 years, but that's because it means that much to me, and I don't want to just throw stuff out there. So I know a lot of people won't have the same thoughts and feelings, but you have to put stuff out there that means something to you, and then working with somebody that you can develop a personal relationship with makes it so much easier. Plus, I know there are times that, Andy would get upset about something and we'd hash it out, or it would cause him to make choices and decisions. There are times that I have an idea that I was dead set on, and he would call me like, man, I know you really want this, but I just don't think it's going to look as great or give you the same effect that you want. And knowing that he took a sec, he could just print whatever. It gets him money coming in, and he'll just, do whatever the customer wants. But the fact that he cared enough to say, I don't think that'll look that great. That really helped.
I think that's an important thing that kind of we've discussed here, and it's kind of, you know, been a big thing with shops like me and Andy, and, you know, there's a ton of shops like us, but I feel like a lot of it is there's two big sides to like being a big printer. There's the custom ink and those kind of places where they would rather you go on their website, you know, put in the artwork, not talk to anybody, submit it, you know, you get a proof back and you say approved, and then it goes, you never actually talk to a physical person. And then the other side of it is we like to say, even though we're kind of bigger, we like to say mom and pop, but like you can actually call like me, or you might have my cell phone number, or you have my direct email or whatever. And like, that's the personal part of it, is where we don't want the, you know, necessarily, I mean, we'll take it, but we don't necessarily hunt for the people coming for family reunions or whatever that can just go online. You know, they want a shirt of two people high-fiving and it says something stupid on it. You know, we want you to come in and we'll talk you through the whole process. We'll, you know, point you in the right direction of a really good shirt brand or, you know, whatever. And then we'll walk you through the artwork. And then when you're done, you have exactly what you were looking for. Because most people who are looking for shirts aren't brands, and they don't know what they want. You know what I mean? They don't know what's out there. They don't know what's available. So walking them through the whole process and making them feel comfortable is super important. And that's what you get a lot of return business from, is because you made a relationship, or, you know, you became friends or whatever, instead of just being like, punch some numbers in a website, take your money, and then maybe we'll hear from you again. I don't know.
Yeah, because I think that's so important, that personal experience. Every single shirt that they print, that Shirt Kong prints, I bring home and I package myself. And on every single receipt, I handwrite a note specifically to that person. It may be the same message of, you know, thank you for your support, but I also, you know, have their name on there. And then if there are people that, or multiple times I remember, or if we've had conversations on Instagram, you know, or if I see that they made a post about, you know, there was an officer shot in their area, you know, I always make sure to put something on there that's personal to them, because I guess I look at it as somebody who has once not had money, and at one time relied on government assistance to survive. Money is an important thing. And when people spend their money that they've worked hard for, that means something to me. And so the fact that they would take their own money to purchase, I mean, it's so surreal. I mean, it's been 3 years, and every time I get an order, still, it gives me chills. The fact that somebody would buy something from me is really, really cool and surreal. So I feel like I at least owe that to them, to let them know that I see them and that I appreciate them. You can't, I mean, I've had people all over the country say, I want to print your shirts. I could do it for this much. I can do it cheaper. You know, how much are you getting it? Blah, blah, blah. But, you know, number one, there's that loyalty. You know, Andy's done a lot to help me. There are times that I've needed to crunch some time and everything, and he's come through. I mean, he took the time to help to actually film that video. So there's that loyalty aspect. But then also that personal experience. I mean, this is a journey that we're walking through, sometimes running through or stumbling through together, but this is a part of our journey. And so, so yeah, it's that personal touch that for me, I have to have.
I think you both hit on something that is really important. And I forget sometimes, you know, I get caught up in the production, like today's production schedule, and hey, all of these orders have to be done, or what's wrong with this press, or what's wrong with this print, you know, just get shirts out the door. That you hit on something really important. And that is that this means something to you. You know, when you come pick up your order, or whether you're a brand, I see some people that will come to the front counter to pick up their box of shirts, or sometimes just one shirt, it doesn't matter. And they'll take the shirt out of the bag or out of the box and put it on right there, like in our showroom, like at the pickup counter. They'll put the shirt on right then. And for whatever reason, if maybe it's their, you know, their restaurant that they're opening, that t-shirt is like, it makes things legit, you know, like, okay, well, you know, it's kind of, sort of like maybe getting a business card, you know, like until you have that shirt, you're not really a business yet. And so, and then with your brand, you know, it's really important to you. Or if it's a walk for autism or whatever, I forget, you know, we see shirts all day long, orders all day long. And sometimes it's just, you know, to get on to the next one. And so it's good to stop to think about. It's important. It's important to you, and it means a lot. And you get it home, just like you said, and you write these personal notes. So that's really cool. Dylan, you going to make fun of that comment?
No. Because it's true. I mean, it really is. I mean, I talked about this in a couple podcasts recently, but it's kind of like Jordan from Mind's Eye is the one who told it to me. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And it's kind of the, you know, we should be a customer service business that screen prints on the back end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're a customer service company that happens to print shirts.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Customer service company first.
Right.
Yeah, and you forget about that a lot of times because you get in this defensive mode, even, you know, at the front counter if something's wrong or whatever, and you need to say, oh wait, what's wrong? Even if nothing really is wrong, if they're not happy, well then got to make them happy. So yeah, cool.
So where are you at now? What's going on with what's next?
Right now, Brandon is actually designing. Well, I've got another idea for another shirt, and so we're going to start getting a few other shirts and hoodies and some sweats and some socks and some hats going. Because with the sneaker culture and it's just there's so many different things that you can do. And so just going to work on expanding that. I spent a lot of 2020 buying a lot of shoes, and the sneaker game has completely changed with bots and everything being online, stores shut down. I mean, it's almost impossible to get a shoe that's a general release now. So that's changed. And so, you just have this kind of shift in the culture. So I want to kind of create my own thing during this shift and just kind of empower a lot of people, giving hope, talking about mental health and making sure that on Twitter every single morning, I make sure that I say the same thing. And I've been doing it for the past month and a half now, because there are a lot of people that were struggling with their own mental health. Guys, we've been conditioned to just be tough and to be the quote unquote pick ourselves up by the bootstraps and tough it out. To where if you tell another guy that you love him, people make fun of you. And so then they wonder why, men are committing suicide at the rates that they are. Well, we got to have love in there. And so it should be normal for another dude to say, man, I love you, dude, or I love you, bro, or, that should be normal.
Hey, Juan, I love you. And Dylan, I love you, man.
I shouldn't be laughing at this, but it just super reminds me of Bill Burr is one of my favorite comedians. It reminds me of one of his sketches where he talks about how guys at 60 just drop dead because they just suppress so many feelings their whole life about they can't say a puppy is cute, or some guy comes around the corners is just no. It's they just suppress that so much. He's why can't we just say oh, that's a cute puppy or whatever? And it's he's you can't. He's they bottle it up, and then all of a sudden they just drop dead. It's just you're talking about this heartfelt people saying things. I'm giggling in the background because I'm just thinking of this Bill Burr sketch.
Well, it's exactly right. And that's what happened to me. It was probably 2 months ago. I found myself in a parking lot with my hands just shaking and feeling paralyzed, and telling myself that I don't want to be here. And I realized that the weight of my world was not only my shoulders weren't strong enough to carry it anymore, and they came crashing down. And so I had a choice to make. What was I going to do? And I called somebody and I started to get help. But you shoulder all of those emotions for so long, only eventually you're going to fall apart. And, that's kind of why I started getting to this parts therapy of accepting those to where I no longer have to manage them. I can just accept them and they can coexist. But making sure that everybody in the world knows that they're loved, or at least somebody tells them that they love them. And so every single morning when I wake up, I go on Twitter and I say the same thing. And it says, I love you. You are worthy of love. And so I want people to know that there's somebody out there that
I think
loves
on
them.
Twitter, you're the only person saying that.
Yeah, I think so.
Does it get retweeted?
It does get retweeted.
Okay.
Interesting enough. But yeah, I think number one, we have to let people know that they're loved. But then two, was something that I struggled with was feeling like you're worthy of love. Like, you wouldn't believe it. Like, oh, I love you. Like, no, you don't. You can't, because I'm not worthy of love. I want people to know that no matter what they've done or no matter what's happened to them in their life, they're deserving of love.
Okay.
So I gotta.
We've made a connection.
Yeah. See, screw shirt con. Come to Upstate. I'll show you how it's really done. I won't make you wait for your order either.
Too,
yeah. Yeah. That's what this was really for.
Fuck off, Dylan.
Yeah. So
he just wanted to make sure that that I was a good guy before he took me.
I just wanted to shame Andy in front of everybody. I got an Inksoft sponsored question for you.
Okay.
Of all the movies ever made, what movie would you be in, and what character would you be?
Wow. Oh, golly. I have always wanted to be in like an action comedy.
Don't steal my comedy. Okay, never mind.
So like an action comedy. So kind of like The Other Guys, kind of something like that. But I really would want to be like more of a character of like The Rock, because like, I mean, he's like super dope and hard, but then like he's got that kind of comedic side to him too. So
you wanted to be Dwayne Johnson and Tooth Fairy, is what you're saying?
No. Maybe in Jumanji, but yeah.
So I knew this question already, and so I went around trying to because I jumped from movie to movie, and I finally landed on The Matrix.
Oh,
because, well, The Matrix 1, the first one. Yeah, and Neo.
My second one, John Wick. I'd love to be in John Wick.
Yeah. I just saw Joanne and I rented Bill and Ted's. Yeah.
Don't thumbs down. It was awesome.
Sorry, dude. No, you saw it too?
Yeah, I fucking love Bill and Ted.
No, it worked.
I grew up with that shit.
Well, I'm okay. Yeah, the first one. But not this one, man.
Dude, how do you expect them to pull it off? Like, they just were all make-upped up, and they made it
just
work.
Didn't work as like 50-year-old guys, anymore.
Yeah,
for me,
it was forced a little bit with the daughters, with like the way they were talking and everything.
That was the worst part about it. Like, if they didn't have their kids in that, they needed to get rid of that whole whoever's idea.
Like,
I don't know.
I feel like the kids were okay, but they were overacting to be like. Acting like them in the old movies. I don't know. I liked it. It was fun.
Yeah, but John Wick, back to your John Wick, there could be like 100 John Wicks,
Oh, yeah.
There probably will be. They could just make one every year.
Well, we're waiting for the next one, but they had to stop filming because of Rona. And so it sucks. We're waiting for it.
Yep. All right, Dylan. What movie are you going to be in?
I want to be Nicolas Cage in all of his crazy roles in all of his movies. I want to be like Nick Cage in
Face Off.
Yeah, in Face Off. Yeah, we'll do Face Off. Yeah. Yeah. Or what is it? What is it? Wicker Man, where he like doesn't he like? I don't know. He like gets in a fight with a woman or whatever, and has the bees on his head.
Have you ever heard of the movie Valley Girl?
Isn't that one of the really old ones?
Yeah, it was like the 80s cult classic.
Yeah.
And but if you haven't seen it, rent it. You'll love it.
We used to watch a video in the shop that was like Nicolas Cage loses it on YouTube, and it's like all the scenes where he just like loses his mind. And one of the ones is like, I can't remember what movie it's from, but it's like him. I think he's in the rain in the street, and he's just like, ah! But we used to do that. Like anytime anything went wrong in the shop, we would grab a screen and like slump the shoulders and drag it across the floor and be like, ah! I'm pretty sure the screen, the wallpaper on the computer in the shop, on the shop computer, is Nick Cage from Con Air with his hair in the wind.
Yes. When you're saying that, that's the first thing I'm picturing him in Con Air.
Yeah, Con Air, dude. Straight up. That's what I said. Nick Cage gets all the roles.
Juan, thanks for coming on. We've wanted to do this for a while with you. You're a mentor to me in so many different ways. And so it was great talking to you. And Dylan, not so much, but whatever.
Hey Juan, you're more of a mentor to me. I will treat you better. After this, you know who to call.
I got you.
Don't worry.
He doesn't print socks though.
I won't call you. I was holding my tongue. I won't call you and tell you we can't do something, because we can do a lot of cool stuff here. He just can't do that shit in his place.
Yeah. I'm gonna teach us.
Well, thanks guys for having me on. I'm also a photographer and videographer, and that happened because of that dude right there who taught me about S-Log. And it's funny because I used to, I've filmed commercials for like during the Super Bowl and the Olympics and stuff. And it's funny I shoot for an NFL player too. And it's funny to go back to when I started, like times where Andy was afraid to even let me hold his camera because he was afraid I would drop it or break it. But
I would have let you hold the camera.
I know you would.
Yeah, I got you. I trust and respect.
But yeah, a lot of my style has completely changed, but a lot of the framework and foundation of it, you'll see it, and there's a hint of Andy in there. So I appreciate him.
Well, you've grown with your creative side and in that art form, whereas I haven't. My videos look the same. So this is a case where like the student flies by the teacher. What is that called? There's something where there's a name for that. And so this is definitely that case. It's like in Cobra Kai, like when Karate Kid, he grows up and then I didn't see that yet. But I want to say it probably happened in that movie. All right, but for real,
that was good.
It was great talking to you, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
All right. Peace.
Hey,
how are you?
How are you?
I love you.
That worked out. My fucking ass hurts so bad from sitting on the floor in this van right now.
You're on the actual floor?
Yes. My ass is 100% numb. I've been trying to like shift and move because we've been over this, how I don't actually have an ass. So it's really just my tailbone sitting on.
My legs are crossed and I can't uncross them because I've lost all blood flow.
All right.
So yeah, I have things to do.
Okay, me too. Love you.
Yeah, love you too. Peace.
All right, bye.